Okay, maybe tweezers. And hey, wait a second, those joystick ain't real, and neither are those buttons. How am I supposed to play that? Well, another week back at Yankee Station, and back to some model work. Actually, while I was in Dixie Station, I was watching a bunch of videos from medical conference. For those who don't know, I support my model habit by doing work on 1-to-1 scale humans. And I was watching a bunch of videos from a meeting that they were posting, and one of the things that you have to do at medical meetings these days is do financial disclosures so that the audience would know of any potential financial conflicts of interest. So I'll say in my videos, I have no disclosures, but I'm willing to take some. I'm talking to you, Tamiya, Mr. Hobby, AK Real Colors, and various other model kit makers. If you want to, give me free stuff to use in the videos, I'm all for it. All right, all masked off for another part of touch-up roulette. I'll need to cover up just a little bit of black up top, black right there. That part right there is probably not going to be seen, but I think kind of continue that gold right there. And I think I already did a touch up under there. Oh, nope, it's another tiny little touch up right there. A lot of that stuff would be invisible at 2 feet away, but I haven't reached the FIP yet. I actually seem to be doing fairly well at touch-up roulette. Got one little spot where the gray's shining through a little better there. Little black spot there, but I hadn't finished taking all the tape off. Yeah, fairly well covered that black there. But I got that more like I wanted. And here I don't have that black coming through so much. If I get the white out, I might just work on that one. That might end up being covered, but might not once I put the bare metal foil on. And looks like I'm going to need to put a little more black on that spot. But actually, I think that's going to get covered with the foil. Yeah, I don't need to touch that up. That's going to be covered in foil. Got a little gray coming through there. And a little gray there. I already put that piece of tape back on to try to get that part covered in white again. And I did check that spot, thinking that maybe, just maybe, as I mock that up, hang on, I'll use both hands. I was hoping that put the bed on that would cover that up. Nope. I don't think even the headache rack is going to cover that part. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the way this is all eventually come out. The areas there of white with the yellow covering, that's going to be covered up by the bed. You can tell because there are those holes that the bed's going to go up even higher. Various touched up areas. Guess that's a little bit of paint things, but yeah, I think we can live with it. Now, one thing, looking at some reference pictures on this, there's another piece of wood on the side that kind of covers up a lot of that. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and get some templates and cut that off, or cut it out of styrene and then apply it over this. That should also help with some of this where it wasn't quite feathering out like I wanted, but yeah, it's going to cover up a whole bunch of that. So after all the time and work I put into doing the Space Invaders console, come to find out I made it too big. So if you look, that's the size of the decal. I'm not sure what happened, but it ended up being too long in the back. So it doesn't really necessarily lend itself to cutting that down. So I'm starting over. So got painting done of the wood grain sides. Not really wild about those. That was just like a weird angle to try to be painting on that. Got the dash, and got some putty on this, but hey, I pretty much got it done in a single day. Also need to trim down and sand a little bit, but that size is matching the decals now. But kind of the big news related to this project is so my last surviving parent died last year, and today got a box of stuff from my sister where she had been around cleaning out the house. This arrived. Harris Amusement. Those were the caps of Dad's company. So try not to choke up here, but just that arrived while I was working on this project, and so many of the memories it brought back was kind of getting to me. Oh, well, seemingly not that much progress, but marking out and cutting all those pieces of styrene took a lot more time than I thought it would. So I got various parts into clear coat. There's the Tommy gate. Brought that over. I'll probably dull coat that later, but can't necessarily see it so well with the shine. It's got all kinds of scratches on it that just came about from other things rubbing up against it, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And they're ready for decals and foil. Same with the cab. Got the dash painted, clear coated. Gonna put some decals on for the dial faces. Steering wheel's done. The dolly hood, and got the Tommy lift controller right there. And just one day's work on this guy, just a little bit more sanding. I can start getting these two things into primer so that things will be ready for decals all together. Okay, got some work done. Got paint into those light areas, and also on that Chevy emblem. What I did on both of those was got some Tamiya blue, and then a mix of orange and yellow clear for those lights. Got them like really thin with alcohol and Tamiya flow improver so that they would just flow. And for the most part, I would take just a toothbrush on that, and then somewhat small brush here, just kind of tap it in and let it flow into everywhere instead of trying to brush stroke everything. And since those were areas of recesses, to just let it flow and let the paint do the work instead of me do the work. You got turn signal decal here and here, and decals on various parts here for the lights and emblem. Same thing over here. I think I'll clear coat over all of that and then get into bare metal foil. Might use a Molotov chrome pin for the door handle, but I'll try it with the foil first. And here we go. Found one other seam that where there was a little gap, so I've got putty sitting in that. I thought I was getting close to being done. Just as I was sanding, discovered another gap, so more putty and sanding. But we're getting close to the end. Also, I forgot, period correct license plates. The HAC to stand for Harris Amusement Company. Just picking, one of the years when I know it was in existence was 1981, so Harris Amusement Company 78-1. Did panel line wash on the door, just a minor little thing, and wow, really makes that pop out. Decided I'm gonna put a little bit of some Mod Podge over those signal lights on each side to make them look a little bit more realistic. Went back, looked over some reference photos, and I was worried I was going to need to repaint part of that right there, but actually the bare metal foil will come in and cover like that part just right above the yellow, and then tail lights go in to those parts. And speaking of tail lights, here they are on the chrome tree, and I gave them that same kind of treatment with Tamiya clears as I did those lights. I think I'll hit some, put some Mod Podge over those lights, all four of those lights as well. Kind of give it that glass appearance. Also, as for the rear view mirrors, hopefully it won't be too out of scale, but I have some from a couple of other projects I'm looking to do that'll have mirrors more like what I remember this truck having, with large mirrors instead of those kind of small ones. And just as it happens, one truck that I'm looking to do was needing a small mirror, and the kit only came with large ones, so small mirror is going to go onto that one. Also, a couple of things here. Some of the tape that's kind of like Tamiya tape that I got from Hobby Lobby. Just laid it down and painted it up, actually trimmed part of it. So that's going to go on the dolly and around one of those video games. And then need to paint this silver. That's scratch building what's going to be a strap for the dolly. Well, I got a coat of semi-gloss on this now, largely to protect the decals. And so next up is putting down the bare metal foil. I also got the video games into primer. Started seeing some gaps on Space Invader. Might just hit that with acrylic putty. Also, don't know where that blob came from. So I first noticed it right as the primer was hitting it. So need to sand that down. But yeah, the Pac-Man is looking pretty good. I think the primer's covered most, if not all, of the scratch marks. So yeah, fill in a few little gaps. And another coat of primer. Then some sanding, and then get into color paint and some decals. Well, not much to update today. I spent pretty much the whole day working with the metal foil. Got foil on those, on the door handle. I did use the Molotow for the key slot and all around there, as well as the windshield wipers and then the bed. A little piece excess that was kind of stuck right there. And instead of where I talked about possibly using the plastic, perfect plastic putty, or the Vallejo acrylic putty there, instead I used Mr. Surf 500. Looks like some of it kind of sunk in there. Same thing over here. I just put that on in the morning, thought, hey, I'll sand that after I'll just sand that down after I get done with the foil. And instead, the foil took hours and hours and hours, and oh, I think I just spotted where a piece fell off. Oh, well, that'll be hopefully a quick fix. Well, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up. Heading back to Dixie Station tomorrow, and I try not to get started on the mornings when I'm gonna drive out to Dixie Station, because as it goes with modeling, a lot of times you get started on something and next thing you know, it's hours and hours later. So I'm recording this on Sunday, June the 30th. And I think I've made some pretty good headway with the truck model. When I get back to Yankee Station, I should be able to largely get most of the final assembly done, and then start adding the add-ons. Then it'll just be a matter of finishing up the video games to go in the back. By the time you see this, it should be only 2 or 3 days before I get back to Yankee Station and start working on it again. Till then, showing you mine, hopefully make you feel better about yours.